Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Retro Alliance Gaming's The Horror Corner. Let's grab the little bean.
No, leave her alone. Just pet her.
Let's pet the bean.
She's purring.
Can you see her?
Yeah.
Look at this little honey. You gonna stay here for the story, baby? I guess you are.
She's keeping you comfort. She's gonna comfort you.
You're gonna comfort me. Alrighty guys. So welcome back to episode 2 of The Horror Corner. I'm gonna tell you a story today that I am very uncomfortable talking about. You'll understand after I'm done, and the reason I'm uncomfortable about it is years and years and years I seem to have never forgotten this, and I decided I'm going to go ahead and share it with all of you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. As a quick preface to this story, me and my brother lived in Jacksonville, Florida. He worked for a company called Filter Queen. You can look them up later. And we used to run around and we used to do demos. Basically, somebody would call, set up a lead for us, offer a free barbecue grill. We go in their house, talk to them for 4 hours, and try to get a sale and make a commission. That's the basics. Every single day we did this all the time. It was never really any different. We traveled all around, everywhere. One day in general ended up being particularly different. We got a page and we got a call to go to a demo like usual. It was a little bit further out than I was expecting. It was probably about 35 minutes outside of Jacksonville in the middle of nowhere. Now that being said, doing this kind of job, we met a lot of different interesting characters, obviously. I mean, we've had a gun pointed at us before. You name it, there's a billion stories I can tell you with weird things that were going on. In fact, I just thought of another one for later. The pig man. Oh god. But anyways, this one in particular stands out to me for obvious reasons, which you're about to find out. So we head out to this demo. It takes forever to get there. We're outside the city. There's nothing. Eventually we get to the point where there's a house every mile. And it's kind of creepy getting out in the middle of nowhere. It's getting late, kind of late in the late afternoon, early evening time. As we're going, we pull up to this house and we see a gate, and these two guys are standing there and they open up this gate and we go and we're driving in. The first thing I noticed was this house was kind of old, like really old, kind of creepy looking. Everything was overgrown, plants, everything all over the place. It looked like a freaking jungle surrounded around swampland, and the driveway was really, really long. So we drive all the way to the end of this driveway, get out of the car. We're greeted by two people asking us what we're doing there. Kind of defensively, we say that we're from Filter Queen and we have a demo to show you guys, blah, 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 so forth and so on. And they're like, okay, well, give us a minute. So they go inside and they leave us sitting there for about 3 or 4 minutes. And my brother, right before he gets ready to knock, they answer the door and invite us in. Now, when we meet these people, it's like any other demo we're at. They seem nice, they're welcoming, they're like, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, great, great, come right on in. The only difference was there's normally 2 people or maybe a couple of kids. There was already like, 8 people that were in the room, which was a little bit weird. But to me and Derek, that was actually kind of exciting because we can have more people see the demo, more people to sell. And I just remembered they were kind of enticing us. They started offering us food, they were offering us drinks, different kinds of things, and we're like, okay, great, fantastic. My brother started doing the demo, and I remember a lot of them weren't really paying close enough attention. They kept whispering to each other, and it was almost like they didn't care. And me and my brother at this point were kind of feeling like, okay, whatever, this is going to be a demo, we're going to end up leaving. And whenever we were almost getting ready to pack up or to leave, they would entice us more and they would give us more things. And they kept saying, why don't you just stay a little bit longer? We're going to have more people here. God, a minute ago I didn't remember this. And we're like, okay, sure. So we just kept hanging out longer and longer, because if we have a crowd of 40 people, we can sell this machine even more, right? We kept sitting there talking to the people, bringing us food, bringing us drinks, kind of talking about the machine, not fully going into the demo, but starting as we're waiting for these people to come. And it started to feel a little bit weird, like a little bit uncomfortable, like, why are we here, what is it that's going on exactly? So as we're talking about this machine, one of the guys ends up saying to us, listen, we're not really that interested in this machine in particular, but we would love for you to stay. We're going to be doing some kind of ceremony and stuff like that, and you never know, some of the other people might, end up being interested in what you're showing. And so we were thinking, what kind of ceremony is this going to be? We picked up on the fact that it was kind of something weirdly religious or something like that. So we stay, more and more people come. My brother ends up dragging me off to the bathroom and talking to me and saying, do you feel uncomfortable? And I was like, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable. There's something weird going on. And he's like, well, what should we do? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to go, but he's like, well, maybe we can just stay. We could sell a bunch of machines or do something. I'm like, if you want to, I guess we could just stay. And he's like, okay. He's like, but he gave me a little signal for if we were going to leave, or I can give him one, I remember. So we end up deciding to stay. More and more people, all these different people from ages 20 all the way up to ages 60. Suddenly, I don't remember everything exactly that was going on, but they started talking more and more religious about Jesus, about God, but mainly just saying Jesus and the saints and everything else that was coming along with it. And one guy goes and he starts turning on this music. So he turns on this music, and they're all kind of chanting around, kind of dancing and swaying and doing all this weird stuff. And me and Derek are looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? And we start realizing there's no way we're going to sell anything here, and we really want to get out of here. So we're getting ready to go. The guy kind of stops us for a second, and this woman suddenly comes out this room, and she was this beautiful, beautiful woman. She was wearing this long, beautiful skirt. She was wearing this weird top. Do you remember what it was, babe?
Bodice.
A bodice, I believe, and it kind of accentuated her figure all the way around. She was very busty. She had long, flowing black hair that was curly, that all the way down her back, olive-colored skin, beautiful eyes. And I remember looking at this woman, and I felt like, oh my God, like this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And Derek was thinking the same thing, and I felt just this weird feeling like I was entranced by this woman I was looking at. And it was more than a school crush. It was literally, I felt like I wanted to stay here with this woman. I wanted to make love to this woman. I wanted to marry this woman. It was like these weird feelings that were coming over me. So this thing happens with this woman, and then me and Derek just suddenly decide we're just going to stay there. Like, it just kind of happens, and we're just hanging out. Well, as this woman is out there, suddenly everybody is dancing around, and it starts turning into one of those weird churchy things where they're like, praise Jesus, and dancing around this room. They were playing this weird music, and they were all chanting to themselves, and it got really, really dramatic. They were literally swinging their arms up in the air, and they were going like, praise Jesus, praise Jesus, and you had like literally 30 people in a room screaming, praise Jesus, and it was like, okay, right? And then when the woman, when she was dancing around, it went further than that. She literally started bawling, crying. I'm talking about her eyes swelled up. There were tears running off her face, and she was going, praise Jesus, please come into my body. And she's like falls to the ground. She's like, Jesus, oh, I love you, Jesus, come into my body, Jesus. And then she's like, and then she just literally going, oh God, please. And she was literally bawling her eyes out, and these people, they looked freaking insane. I'm kind of feeling uncomfortable, but I'm kind of going along with it, and they're like, come on, and I guess she noticed I was feeling uncomfortable because she went up to Derek and she kind of hugged him and said something to him in his ear, and then she came up to me and she just stared at me, and she kept looking at me closer and closer, and I looked at her and I was like, I couldn't stop. I was like, it was like an infatuation, but times a million. And she kind of grabbed onto me. She was filling up my arm like this. She pressed her breast up against me. I'm 14 years old, so this is like, whoa, but way beyond that. And she was smiling and moving up to my ears, and she started whispering something in my ear. I don't know what she was whispering. I don't remember. I just know it felt very sensual, and it felt very inviting. So I'm dancing around with her, and he's dancing around with her, and she's moving back and forth, and she starts laughing, going, like turning in circles. Way more attractive than that, because I wouldn't be around a girl that's going, it's supposed to be creepy corner, I'm getting goofy here, but she was turning in circles, and I remember her skirt was waving back and forth, and she was picking it up like this, and you can see up her leg and her thigh, and at points you can see her underwear, and it was the strangest thing, but every time she did, I started feeling closer and closer. So they were doing this ceremonial stuff while she's dancing, and I remember they were going up to people and doing those things from the church channel you would see where, like, hitting people on the head, and they're holding them, and they make them fall, and they just fall to the ground. And it was their way of saying you're giving your body to Christ, or you're giving it to Jesus. And I need you to understand that this isn't a normal religious kind of thing I'm talking about. There was something weird and creepy. I saw them do it to my brother Derek, and they held his arms out, and they were saying these weird things to him and chanting something. I don't know what they were speaking, and they were pressing on the back of his neck, somewhere in the back, and I remember he fell to the ground. His eyes closed, like they were like rolling back almost, and he just dropped. And I know my brother, he was not faking. When he opened his eyes, he was like looking around like, what the hell just happened? We are not religious people. We are spiritual people, but we do not believe in that kind of stuff. When that happened, he just kept going with it. Like, he looked like he was scared but intrigued. And I was a kid, so I decided, well, I'm going to go along with this.
Peer pressure.
Why. Peer pressure. So I went along with it being stupid. I don't know, again, 13, 14, whatever I was, and they held me up and they did it. I remember when they were holding me and they were having me drop back, I actually remember now it didn't work the first time. Like, I was going back and I didn't fall like I was supposed to. And I remember there was these two guys, the same large ones that were outside, like bodyguards in the corner, that were just kind of staring off. I believe they were this lady's protector. I was like, oh God, okay, this needs to happen. So they held me out and they said all the things and they touched my back, and I let myself drop. It didn't happen naturally. I purposely let myself drop backwards, and they caught me. And when they did, I was like, oh, so I just played along with it like it was a thing, and they laid me on the ground. Now, everybody who dropped, my brother Derek, and everybody else, when they laid him on the ground, they stayed there in a dreamlike state, like they were in a trance, okay? Kind of like a weird thing you would see on one of those dumb commercials where they're asking you for your money. Well, when I fell to the ground, I was not in a trance. I was laying there and I was closing my eyes, pretending to be. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was because my brain was halfway falling asleep, because I did, but I started feeling kind of in this weird thing in my brain where I was really tired, and I started remembering hearing the sounds and laughing and the jumping and everything, but I literally started to like zonk out, like I was zoning, like I was almost 90% asleep, but it felt like it was hypnotic, like I literally was falling asleep. And there were a period of time that I don't remember after that, like a small period of time. So I'm laying there, and I remember, like, since I was partially conscious at one point, opening my eyes and looking up, and there was these two men in the corner, those same men, and they were just staring at me. And they did not look happy. They were literally evilly staring at me, and they both looked at each other, and they looked back at me. And I guess they knew I was faking or whatever it was, but they didn't seem to like me, and they didn't want me there, and they didn't want me around her. Maybe they picked up on the fact that I wasn't actually in that zone when I was laying on the ground and moving around, even though I didn't feel kind of weird or hypnotic. So after a while, I slowly pretended to wake up, even though, again, I was kind of in a trance. And I get up, and I'm looking around. They will not stop staring at me. I run up to my brother, and I'm like, dude, I want to go. This is creeping me out. I want to get out of here. And he looks at me, and before he can say anything, this lady heard us, and she just came up to us. She's like, nonsense, sweetie, just stay here. And she kept dancing and grabbing me, and she was moving her body around. And it was the hardest thing ever. Like, I almost at that point wasn't going to leave. I was like, maybe I'll just stay here. Not just like a horny kid's thing, but I was like, I think I'll just stay here. And when Derek was seeing that, I guess he looked at me and he ended up deciding, okay, we're going to leave. So he made up an excuse. They gave him a card or whatever it was, and they wanted him to come see them again. Well, as we were leaving, the guys kept staring at me, and I told Derek, I'm like, dude, they will not stop staring at me, and I'm really freaked out. So we leave and walk off the door, and they're following us out the door. I remember seeing the woman at the door staring at us, but she was staring at us in like a smiley kind of way, or kind of something, I don't know how to really place
Seductive?
it. Seductive kind of way. They were looking at us at me at least, in this really creepy, evil kind of way. We get in the car and we start driving. The gate's still open, and I remember as we're driving, I was like, "Oh my god, dude, we really need to get out of here. That thing's creeping me out. Like, those guys won't stop staring at me." I turn my head, and they're still looking at me. All of a sudden, after getting away from the house, I feel sick from head to toe. I mean, I might as well just have the flu. I got pale white. I felt like I was gonna vomit. I'm like, Derek, pull over, I need to vomit. He's like, okay, get outside the gate. I'm like, no, I'm gonna vomit, I'm gonna vomit, and I literally was gonna vomit everywhere for no reason whatsoever. He goes and gets outside the gate, and he's trying to get away outside of their view, and he opened the door, and I get out there, and I'm like dry heaving, like this, but like, almost dry heaving, like I'm gonna puke everywhere, and I think these guys might still see me, I don't know. And I keep going, but I'm not actually vomiting. It hasn't happened yet. And Derek's like, okay, let's just try to get as far down as we can. So I drag myself in the car, pale. I'm kind of shaking even right now talking about it. And as we're getting down the street, it subsides. I stop feeling sick and I stop feeling nauseous, but I feel shaky. I'm actually shaking right now talking about this. I'm not even joking. Like, I feel shaky and I feel cold, and it's because it's just remembering this. Makes me uncomfortable.
Pet the butters.
Pet the butters. So I'm trying to remember everything, but as we get down the street, we're talking about it, and Derek tells me that he really did fall. I'm like, that actually happened? He's like, I did. I don't know what happened, but I really fell. And I'm like, I didn't. I was just pretending it didn't happen to me, but why am I so sick? He's like, I don't freaking know, dude. So it changes subjects to this girl, and we start talking about the girl and how beautiful she is. He felt the same way I did, and we were both literally just couldn't get over this woman. So we get home, and I tell him suddenly, even with how scared I was, I want to see her again. And Derek's like, I want to see her again too. And I remember now, he said to me, maybe we can see her outside of the group, because he said that the group was creepy and he had a really weird feeling about them, but he wanted to see her. I'm like on a date or something. I'm like, maybe we could invite her somewhere and do something. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So we get back and we go to sleep. He calls them and he tells me he's going to go meet them. And apparently his plan was to go there. I remember now. It was to go there, and he was going to get this girl's phone number, this woman. The only reason he was going there was to get her phone number. We wanted to be involved with this woman somehow, or he wanted to be involved with this woman, and I wanted to be around this woman. I think we both thought, like, it was almost like this weird jealousy thing, but not from him, but from me. When he said he was going by himself, I felt really jealous, and it's really weird because I was young, but I felt jealous of my brother to go see this woman, and it wasn't a good feeling. I never felt this kind of jealousy. He went there, and he came back, and basically when he came back, he asked me, do you remember clearly how that woman looked? And I described to him how she looked, and he described to me how she looked, and it was a little bit different from what I thought to what he did, but we both thought she was beautiful.
Succubus.
He told me that once he got there, a couple things happened. First off, this woman looked nothing like she did when we were there. He said she was incredibly average and almost ugly. I mean, not quite ugly, but just like, whoa, nothing at all. And it's like something hit him. The people came up to him and gave him a card and said, you can return, you can come see us again, and you can join this group or whatever it was. It was an actual cult. When it came down to it, he told me we're not going anywhere near there. He said, Travis, I don't care what you think about this woman, we're not going back there at all. And suddenly, the weird thing is he, like when he was talking to me, he kept thinking about how pretty she was and trying to make excuses for what it was or why she was different. But he's like, we're not going back there, we're not going anywhere near these people are not good, this lady is not good. I don't know what's going on, but we cannot see these people again. I'm like, okay, so no woman? He's like, no. And I'm like, I can't stop thinking about her. He's like, get her out of your mind. stop thinking about this woman, get her out of your mind. I'm like, okay. So what basically we figured out it was is they were a cult. This wasn't a regular religious thing, and they were water walkers. We can't find much information on it. My girl found one page on it. What they believed was that their group were the chosen ones to be saved. They would come every weekend and they would praise to Jesus and do something called a water dance, which is what they were doing when we were there. By doing this water dance, basically they were able to connect to the body and mind of Jesus. And what would end up happening is when Jesus came, he would grab them, and this group would walk on water and end up walking up a staircase, and they would be taken to heaven. By anybody else who wasn't in their group or was on earth would die, and they would actually go to hell. They felt that they were these chosen ones.
Which is ironic because you're Jewish.
I'm Jewish, right? I don't know if they were going to do a suicide pact or what it was they were going to do, but there was something seriously wrong with these people. That is all that I actually know about them. The only thing that I will say after this is I couldn't stop thinking about this woman and how beautiful she was. And even Derek, after seeing her looking hideous, he kept remembering how she looked when she was there. The obsession that I felt like I wanted to marry her. I wanted to be with her. I wanted to have sex with her. Whatever it was very uncomfortable. Me and Derek, I went real quickly. I went to a Christian school because I needed to get caught up on my grades because we moved schools a lot. There was a preacher there. Derek and me both felt sick to our stomach, and I said, Derek, why am I sick? Why did I get nauseous? So I'm like, I feel like they did something to me. And he's like, we're going to go to your preacher. So we went to the preacher. I told him what happened, and he put his hands on his head. We're not religious, by the way, but he put his hands on our head, and he said a prayer to protect us from everything, from any bad spirits, from anything these people had to do with. And afterwards, I know whatever was there that was bad was gone. The only thing that bothered me that I didn't want to talk about is for years and years afterwards, I was always scared thinking about it. I was like, why did I get sick that day? And I get creeped out thinking, did they put something weird on me? Did something weird happen to me? Or what is it exactly? And I think those were very unhealthy thoughts, but I didn't want to talk about it to anybody because of that. When it comes down to it, no, that wasn't the case. I got caught up. These people obviously thought that I was faking, and whatever energy they were putting out there, this weird cult, I absorbed. And I think that I got sick from whatever energy was being put out there and whatever they were putting out there. But after I was done being sick, to me it felt like a weird warning. I don't know what it was. All I know is that I never saw the people again. I got a prayer done over me, and I forgot about them. And every once in a while, after so many years, it comes to mind and creeps me out. So this is something that I still deal with sometimes to remember. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have any weird cult stories? Any experience with this kind of stuff? Maybe you want to post something below and tell me. Other than that, guys, that's it. There's my story. There's where it is to you. I'll say another prayer tonight to the... no, I'm not going to.
We're witches.
You can put something good.
Honey, we're witches.
One last thing I want to end the note on is no matter what it is that happened there, I don't feel that anybody with that kind of negative energy is capable of having any lasting effect on anybody other than some temporary ruse to try to make somebody feel sick or suck them into whatever it was that they were doing. Any of you guys out there, by the way, if you ever run across something,
you're going to be okay.
Trust your gut, trust your instincts, stay away from creepy situations like that, and always know about the power of your mind and never let somebody scare you that way. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys being with us today. Stay tuned again for some stories that will be coming up later on. And as always, my friends, until next time.